up with appropriate solutions for the trenchant problems that bedevil our continent and the lives of our people? Will they come when they are called forth? When we have come together and settled on some of these propositions and solutions, do we have governments resilient, agile enough to enforce, to enact, to implement these solutions in the shortest possible time? Do we?
Before we proceed, it is essential to highlight the gravity of this moment. This is a bold and unapologetic speech by the newly elected president of Botswana, Duma Boko, who fearlessly addresses a pervasive issue among African leaders. With sharp precision, Boko condemns the culture of delivering flowery and powerful speeches on international platforms, performances designed to impress the world, while failing to implement the actions needed to bring real progress to their nations. He challenges this pattern of empty rhetoric, calling for a new era of leadership grounded in accountability, decisive action, and the courage to prioritize the needs of the people over political performance. His words are a rallying cry, not just to Botswana, but to the entire continent, urging leaders to break free from complacency and rise to the challenges before them. Let us now hear this powerful and uncompromising address.
The amount of courage that we need here today for the exercise that you'll be engaged in the next 3 days and going forward requires more courage than that required for a soldier on the battlefield. That indicates the enormity of the challenge and the task that you have in front of you. In part to make sure that this conference does not degenerate into merely a generous exchange of flattery, a failure to probe honestly, brutally honestly, I must indicate, the challenges that face us as a continent and the world, the responses that we've fashioned in the past, and an open acknowledgement of our foibles and failures that have resulted in us being stuck as a continent in situations where our people are subjected to the grinding indecencies of poverty, and where the actions of government have operated to snuff out any democratic energies and impulses amongst the people. I hope at the end of this conference you'll have reignited the passion. You would have fueled, augmented and deepened democracy at the very least, but that you'll also have inspired us to more action geared at lifting our people from poverty and raising our continent to take its rightful place as a leader in the world and not just an emerging frontier. The theme of your conference, Securing Africa's Economic Future Amidst Rising Uncertainty, could not be more relevant. We appreciate, and we need constantly to remind ourselves of the unpredictability of the global landscape, and that Africa stands at a crossroads to closely address the obstacles affecting the livelihoods of our citizens. The importance of your theme lies in its focus on Africa's urgent need to leverage on its collective strengths in order to secure a prosperous economic future for its citizens. I must commend the African Development Bank, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, and the United Nations Development Program for coming up with this more than apt and befitting theme. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the global economic environment remains volatile with rising inflation, supply chain disruptions, tightening monetary policies across developed economies, and these impact our own fiscal stability. The threat of climate change always looms large on the horizon, threatening our agricultural productivity and livelihoods. In addition, geopolitical tensions, Africa's challenges rooted in internal conflicts, regional disputes, and global power struggles also present challenges. These present challenges to Africa's economic development. Navigating these challenges during these uncertain times requires a multifaceted approach that addresses human development, geopolitical, economic, environmental, and other challenges in a holistic manner. Notwithstanding all these, there is hope yet. Amidst this rising uncertainty, Africa still has unique prospects which, if harnessed effectively, can transform challenges into opportunities for the continent, not only to survive, but also, and more importantly, to thrive. Our Africa is still rich in natural resources, and it is critical that we develop and strengthen value chain systems for value addition to Africa's vast natural resources and to prioritize the use of these in Africa. Not only will this diversify the African economies enormously, but it will also create more jobs in our countries. There is great potential within the agricultural sector in most African countries, where innovation is key to increased production and food security. We must work together to create efficient, productive, and effective agricultural systems and agribusinesses in Africa. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we as Africa are blessed with a young, vibrant, restless population, which in and of itself is a tremendous asset. And it is a tremendous asset if we invest in it and invest wisely. Our young people are the innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders, not of tomorrow, but of the now, who must drive our economic growth and create inclusive, resilient societies where no one will be left behind. We must therefore prioritize investments in their education and equip them with the necessary skills for them to be able to drive innovation and build a workforce capable of thriving in the digital economy. We live at a time when multilateral cooperation and integration of economies into regional trading blocs is more urgent than ever before. One of the most promising developments the world has ever seen is the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is the largest single free trade area in the world. The African Continental Free Trade Area holds significant prospects for transforming Africa's economic landscape, to foster investment, create jobs, and promote industrialization. It is critical for us, therefore, to capitalize on the African Continental Free Trade Area and leverage its potential to enhance intra-Africa trade and position the continent as a global economic powerhouse. Beyond trade, regional cooperation must extend to, among others, shared physical infrastructure, resource management and conflict resolution, ending armed conflicts which hinder development by silencing the guns in Africa cannot be overemphasized. This will create a stronger and more integrated Africa, an Africa which is better equipped to navigate the global trade dynamics and challenges. The ongoing conflicts and wars in Africa must stop, and they continue to cause immeasurable human suffering, displacement, and leave lasting scars and bruises on people, communities, societies, countries. And we would be our own worst enemies if we do not step up, call each other out where we have to as leaders, and this has been one of the problems. That when we are supposed to address issues, often we marshal figures and statistics that flatter only to deceive. So we must rise above this self-adulation, deal with the painful realities that some of our actions cause on our people. We know climate change is not just a distant threat to the livelihoods and prosperity of our people. It is happening now. As such, it is more than urgent to act now, to adapt to its impacts, and to mitigate some of its harsh consequences, even in the short term, as we wrestle more deeply with the medium to long term interventions that we must deploy. Ladies and gentlemen, we are called upon to invest in renewable energy, from which Africa can build resilient, sustainable energy systems for the future, while addressing the urgent challenges posed by climate change. The digital revolution also presents a powerful tool for economic transformation. Technology is the key to unlocking new avenues of growth. And we can therefrom reshape African economies in profound ways. As I conclude, let me advise that we not allow the uncertainties of today to deter us from the opportunities of tomorrow. Let us use this conference as a platform to engage in meaningful dialogue, to exchange innovative ideas, and to forge partnerships that will shape the trajectory of our continent's development. It is imperative for the continent to act in unison and with unwavering boldness to secure Africa's economic future and to build a resilient, prosperous Africa that we all want. I hear echoes in my mind of a conversation between two Shakespearean characters. One says to the other, "You know, I can do things. I can call spirits from the vast deep." The other says, "Well, so can I, and so can anybody else. But will they come when you do call for them?" That is the brutally honest and devastating question that we must pose to ourselves and wrestle with in the next 3 days. We tell ourselves we can do things. We tell ourselves we can come up with appropriate solutions for the trenchant problems that bedevil our continent and the lives of our people. Will they come when they are called forth? But to take it a street further and conclude on that note, when we have come together and settled on some of these propositions and solutions, do we have governments resilient, agile enough to enforce, to enact, to implement these solutions in the shortest possible time? Do we? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for the privilege of your attention and the pleasure of your company. Thank you.